Well, we made it home, you guys. Last night was the worst customer service and experience I've ever had in my entire life. So, we were taking a trip to Edmonton to visit family, visit a family member who um, has cancer, and I haven't been able to see for many years. Um, and the prognosis is terminal, okay? That's the scene. We fly out of Toronto, we go to Edmonton, absolutely seamless. We flew through WestJet, who had been, the plane was Flair, but the service was booked through WestJet. Absolutely seamless. Went up to the kiosk to try and get our boarding passes. They said, see an agent. We went up to the kiosk, we spoke to an agent, printed off our boarding passes, wrote on there where we needed to go, and actually sat us together, my two children together, and then myself separately because they were fully booked. Circled where we needed to go, what we needed to do, and then came out from behind the kiosk to show us exactly where security was and where our next steps were. Absolutely fabulous. We were in and out in probably less than 10 minutes. We always arrive 2 hours early. Perfect. We go through security, bada bing, bada boom. We get to the boarding gate. It's exactly what he told us. We get there. Now we get to chill and just relax, read. Sorry, I keep getting the shivers. We just get to chill and relax until our flight. Flight is great. It's a Flair air, a Flair plane, but the service was through WestJet. We get on the plane, everyone is very welcoming. We put our stuff up, they do their spiel. They come around twice with complimentary drinks. Beautiful. You can have your pop, you can have your coffee, your tea. And then if you want other things, you can purchase them. They also gave, you could choose if you wanted pretzels or cookies. Beautiful. Very, lovely service. That's the standard, right? Wonderful. Ooh, I got such a chill. So, fast forward to when we are returning. What happens? We get to the airport 2 hours early. Okay, great. We find our the Flair kiosk, and they say there's a sign saying it's $25 to sign in per person to sign in with the agent. I go to my phone. I can't print off the boarding passes, so I guess it is what it is. I see one agent and she is sizing people's bags and giving them tags to put on their bags. Okay, that's fine. I go up to the front desk and I say, listen, here's our email of our information. She's like, you need to sign in over there. And I'm like, over where? She's like, over there. And she just waves to me like at the end of the line, and she writes down my code, which I already had, writes it down, and she's like, just go over there. I'm like, okay, because I see another agent over there. I'm like, okay, we'll go over there. So we go over there, and I'm looking, there's no kiosk, and I'm like, where is it that I sign in? And I ask the agent, and she just doesn't acknowledge me. She just moves over and stands beside the little railing or post. And I'm like, excuse me, like where? And then finally my son, who's 20, gets it, and he's like, oh, it's this sign that has a QR code. Okay, great. So now I've got to go do a QR code. So I do the QR code, going through all the steps, get my son set up, and we have to pay the $67 for him to put on his regular carry-on bag, which was not a charge when we flew WestJet. $67, an extra $67. So they email his boarding pass. Okay, great. Well, we still have 2 more boarding passes that we need. Go back into the app. And the way that it was worded, it made it sound like we needed to click my son's, but his was already done. So I tried it that way. It wouldn't print off the boarding pass and send it to me. I tried it the opposite way, which is myself and my daughter. Clicked it that way. It wouldn't send it to me. So I pull up my app as I'm working on it, and I show one of the agents who's circling around putting tags on people's bags and say, hey, excuse me, I need your help. I'm not sure what I should do here. My son's boarding pass came through. I have that one. But I need help to do this one. Do I do this, or what do I do? He says, well, just follow your instincts. Sorry, no, like, I need your help. You're the professional who works for this airline. How am I following my instincts? Please. And he's like, yeah, sure, like, that looks good. So I just tried it. It didn't work. And I've tried it both ways that you can do it. It's not working. Well, I'm just going to have to pay, I guess, to get this done. Go up to the front desk again. And I'm standing in line. There's a gentleman standing behind me. And the lady says, okay, next. And she waves to the guy behind me. I'm like, no, excuse me. I'm in line first. Like, I was here. Very bizarre, because it wasn't a long lineup at this time. And so he steps back and she's like, okay. And then, like, was not like happy to serve, and, provide the customer service to get me boarded. So we get up there and I'm like, I show her, I took this, I got his boarding pass, I can't get the other 2 boarding passes. So then she actually does what she should have done the first time and does the boarding pass for myself and my daughter, emails it to us. So now I have it in my emails. That's great. But now we still have to, I said, well, we have bags that we have to check. And she's like, you have to go over there. Again, she just waves me to some other area. So now I have to get into a totally different line for the bagging. So I get into this next line, and this has been back and forth for a while. Time has elapsed. I get into line, finally go up. I'm speaking to the same gentleman who said, use your instincts. I guess he felt a little bad at this point. So he is trying to help us and figure out, okay, you've paid for this bag, but now your bag that fits in the carry-on baggage is now going to have to go underneath the plane for some reason. Flight's not fully booked. But his bag that was a carry-on on the way here is now no longer a carry-on. We had 3 people traveling. I had my purse, which fit into the personal, and we had 4 bags that fit into the carry-on. None of them were allowed. They all had to be charged. We paid $67 for him, another $77 for another bag, and then another $180 something for all of them. All told, it came up to about almost $330 extra, to bring a carry-on bag. Absolutely ridiculous. So fine, we do that, we get that. At this point, the line is completely booked up. We're in the process of getting that. While we're in the process of getting that, their system crashes and they're about to be locked out because they've got 10 minutes left to get everyone boarding passes and everyone's bags checked before it closes down, because now they actually need to go to the terminal and sign people in, which I didn't know about until I got to the terminal and saw the same people working the terminal who had worked the boarding passes. Anyways, now we're standing at the desk for, who knows, 20 minutes, half an hour. I don't know how long we're standing there, but we're standing there while they're trying to get their system working. Everything has crashed. So they finally get it back up. We get our bags done. Now, we arrived at the airport 2 hours early. We now have about 20 minutes to find security, because nobody told us where it is. They're just like, yeah, it's down there. So find security. I'm following other people who I saw in line at the flare counter. We get to security, go through security. That was fine. And then we go to board the plane. Everyone is backed up. All the other planes have left, basically. All their terminals are cleared, like the waiting area is cleared. This one, everyone is stacked up. And we get there, and we're all in different seats because it was an extra $35 per person to pick seats. Whereas WestJet didn't charge us. The boarding agent just set us all up. So anyways, my daughter and I are in the same zone, thankfully. My son, who's 20, was fine. He was in the next zone. So we go through the ticket agent to get boarded. We go down the long hallway. Then we go outside. We go down some rickety ass freaking metal laneway, down some stairs, then they had pylons set up to go across some tarmac. Okay. I'm like, am I being punked? Is this like a scary movie? Like, what is going on here? We go round this little bend. on the tarmac, and then we go either up some stairs or up a ramp and then back onto the plane. And I'm like, you know what, thank God, I wasn't traveling with a stroller, or I don't have mobility issues or vision issues or any disability, because there was no consideration for anyone. Okay, it's all able-bodied people only, which is, it's 2024. We don't do that here. We make it accessible for everyone, and they obviously didn't have their shit together to make accommodations for anyone. So finally we get on the plane. The flight staff seemed nice, and I was just praying that the pilot was way better trained than the ticket agents, because at this point I have very low confidence. Very low confidence. So we get on the airplane. There's tons of room in the overhead storage. I don't understand why they're charging people to just put their belongings on the plane. Anyways, we get on the plane, we get ready to take off, find out that there's the onboard service. Bring your credit card. If you ever fly Flair, I would never recommend flying Flair, but if you're going to fly Flair, bring your credit card, okay? They're going to charge you almost $4 Canadian for a bottle of water. They're going to charge you almost $4, $3.89 Canadian for a can of pop. And crackers, anything else that you want, you're going to be charging Visa and MasterCard or whatever other credit card maybe it was Amex, I don't know, maybe it was American Express, but Visa, MasterCard they accept. One other one I didn't retain. Bring your credit card if you want to have sustenance on a 4-hour flight. It was like 3 hours and 11 minutes. So yeah, seats don't recline, literally sitting up the entire time. It did have a seat rest, like a headrest that went up and down and like curved around your head, which was a little bit nice. It was no saving grace, I wouldn't say that, because it was still tight and uncomfortable. Unfortunately, I was in a row that had 2 other passengers, so that makes it a little bit less comfortable. So yeah, it was not fun, not comfortable. I will never fly them again. The fact that you've already paid for your flight, the same price that you paid to get out there, the exact same price, and now you have to pay an extra $300 plus $35 to pick your seats, plus $25 to have a boarding agent not even print off your pass, email you your pass. I hope you have your data and internet all hooked up, because otherwise you will not access this flight. So again, completely inaccessible to people who don't have data on their phone, or God forbid somebody doesn't even have a cell phone. I know it's 2024 and there's not a lot of people who are not like that, but anyways, that's the point. And yeah, be prepared to pay for anything that you want on board. So again, I would never fly Flair again. I did do a TripAdvisor review. I looked for a spot to do a Google review, and I will be rating the company as well. Sorry, just let me swing back to the fact that we are standing at the desk. This is when the computer had crashed, and we were waiting to get these stickers, or little whatever stickers to go on our bags. They didn't even give us stickers. For my son, whose bag went underneath the plane, they gave him a sticker, and then they were like trying to inspect bags once we got to the terminal to board the plane. Anyways, we're standing there, we're waiting, the computer has crashed, the line is now backed up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? And so if the system doesn't come back up there, I guess they're just gonna have to hold the plane. I don't know what's gonna happen. There was no announcement made, there was nothing. They didn't even communicate and say, apologies people, please bear with us, we've had a system crash. They're just wandering back and forth and clicking on buttons. They didn't do any type of customer service, appraisal and let people know what was going on. Okay, so people are starting to get frustrated. People are like, what is going on? And then when they finally get, then they're hearing that there's extra charges. So finally the system comes back up. There's a group of people behind me, and the agent started calling people behind them to come up, and they're like, excuse me, like, we're in line. Why are you calling people behind? And they're like, oh, because your stuff is too bulky. You don't have a sticker for your bags. And he's like, but there was no one, and he is absolutely 100% correct. There was no one at that time giving stickers for the bags. They were all working the kiosks. When we arrived 2 hours early. So there was people, like 3 people on the desk and like 1 or 2 people floating between answering questions and floating. Wildlife, you better stay over there. Floating between putting stickers on bags and answering questions and this type of thing. But once it got a little bit later, an hour of trying to get through their system, they have everyone on the ticket counter. So the gentleman was like, why are you taking people behind me? And she's like, well, because you don't have the proper boarding stuff. Your stuff is too bulky. You're going to have to pay extra. Why don't you have a sticker on your bag? He's like, there was no one there to give a sticker on my bag. And she's like, yeah, because it was too bulky. And he's like, yeah, but there was no one giving it out. And she's like, yeah, because it was too bulky. And he was like, but like, I need to get my bag on the plane. I'm going on the plane. I've paid for my ticket to go on the plane. What, like, can you help me to get what I need to get in order? No, she's like, no, we can't, because your stuff is too bulky, so you're not getting a pass. Somebody ended up getting loud, and I completely justified, I will say, to feel what he felt. How you deal with things in an airplane, you got to be real calm, because when we finally got our stuff and we were ready to go, security was standing by. And I'm like, that's a shame, because he is absolutely legitimate in his frustration over being passed over, minimalized, not served. He was basically denied service on a ticket that he had access to. Honestly, I still am having a hard time processing this. I'm home. It was like all night of traveling. I love seeing new places. The traveling bit, sometimes when you're relying on other people and relying on other systems, can get a bit. Yeah. So we left Edmonton time 9 p.m. to get to the airport for about 9:30. Our plane was to leave at 9:45. We arrived at the airport at 9:30 p.m. Edmonton time. We flew probably 11:45 to midnight. That's when we took off. We did land a bit early, so we got there at like between 5 and 5:30, which means now we have to sit on the plane and wait until they can get in the queue to get our stuff and all that sort of stuff. But I didn't end up getting home until 8 o'clock, so it was like 12 hours of traveling. So it was a long day. Anyways, that's my horror story of flying Flair. What are my recommendations and tips? 1, don't do it. 2, if you must do it because it is budget, I would go through WestJet and then use Flair. Or if you still have to use Flair, basically don't bring any belongings with you. Bring a purse that literally just fits in your personal belongings. Make sure you have internet and get your boarding pass and screenshot it on your phone so you have it. And also bring your visa, and also you should have at least an extra $500 to $1,000, because who knows what they're going to charge you for. And tip number 5, whatever we're at now, is be prepared for unknowledgeable and unprofessional and unfriendly staff. I believe that they were trying. I just believe that they are undertrained and understaffed. But I don't necessarily think that that's a reflection on them personally. I feel like it's the company who wasn't like providing the best care and support and training for their staff, from what I experienced. Okay, so there you have it, folks. And that's all I gotta say about that. Bye.